Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board, our last meeting of the year. It is, thank you for standing up for Kurt walking in. It is Monday, December 30th, and please rise if you haven't already and join me for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a full complement of select board members this evening. I started that way last time. So Sharon Russell, Matt Getty, Mary Ashcroft, Joe DiNardo, and Kurt Hathaway. And before I forget, I'm going to conduct some outside business. Oh, Mr. Hathaway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, outside business having been conducted. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the select board minutes for December 17th. Move to accept. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes of the December 17th meeting. I have one correction on page 3 toward the top, item number 2, under Marcia Chioffi's report. And this was the motion to go into executive session. Selectman Selectwoman Russell moved to go into executive session. Selectman Hathaway seconded, and we should add second in the motion, which was unanimously approved. Vote otherwise. So I would, if you folks concur, and that in. Any other additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And no one abstaining. So I'm going to circulate these all in favor. 5-0-0. All right. Board member meeting announcements. Any? Nope. Circle articles are due January 15th. And this is the important one, department heads and select board members who are running for re-election, for example. Because this is the one that comes out before town meeting. So it's got a lot of good information about what we're voting on and who we're voting for. So this would be the one not to miss and not to be late with. I'm preaching to myself because I was late with the last article. So I won't be this time. Thank you. Okay. All right. Any questions from the floor or public comments? I'm scanning the rows of people who are here in the back of the room, and I don't see any eye contact for that matter. Looking up at the Zoom screen, I see no one up there. So let's move along. I will say that we have our town attorney coming in, and we will likely do an executive session on that. That will be sometime between 7 and 7:30. Have a couple of hefty things to finish today. One is to vote on the general budget proposal, which we didn't do last time. And the second is for Matt and I to report our meeting with the auditor and the audit reports and see if you are willing to approve them. So we'll get to those later. Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Well, happy holidays to you all.
Happy New Year's.
Yes. Really don't have much. I will say basketball kicks off this coming week. So they've been practicing for the past 3 weeks. And so the games start on Saturday. I believe we're at Rutland City. So you can definitely check the website. Bill has them posted. Please go out and cheer our kids on. And there are locations of games on the website. Feel free to come and cheer them on any way, shape, or form. The senior luncheon happened, I think, at our last meeting. And like I said, that was a very well turned out event. Like we said, we did have a person posing as a senior. which was great. How was the food? Was it good?
Very
Good. All right, excellent.
Heard lots of compliments.
Yes, I did too. I got a bunch of feedback and I passed it on to Aaron from a lot of the seniors. They were very impressed with the music and the kids and how they played and all that. So that was a win-win for everybody. Other than that, looking to maybe do some stuff. We get some snow and do some little sliding up at the pool since we filled in the gully so that you can slide from the tennis court. So we might do a night up there coming up, depending if we get any kind of snow. Not that we have any more now, but I see some people that attempted it earlier. I was up there earlier in the week, and so might do an evening up there, get started with that. But other than that, if you have any questions for me.
Questions for our rec director? Okay, we have approved his budget proposal to go to the voters. We have approved the request for increasing depreciation fund to go to the voters. So-
Perfect. My only other question is townwide celebration,
Oh, yeah.
when we might start that up, and I'm assuming, not assuming, but if everything goes to plan, I would hope that that would kind of partially fall under me, not to step on anyone's toes or anything, but that would be a good time to transition that over to following year. But at some point when we have a meeting, I'm sure you'll have one soon, or we'll have some conversation of what's happening since it comes sooner rather than later. And I will have popcorn for you on the 14th in my room. We can meet there. Bill, do you need anything?
We are going to need some sort of remote meeting option. So Joe was I talked to Joe and he was gonna see if he could work out something too, so I'm working on it.
Joe. Oh, yeah, I think all you really need is the pass, the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we need infrastructure.
Yeah, he should be able to pull something out for you. And I have a board there and whatever, we can work whatever you need for that meeting. What time are we meeting?
5:30 for the
We
select.
first or we second?
We are first.
We are first this time. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll make sure you guys are good there. And then we'll go from there. On that, have a safe New Year's.
Thank you.
Yeah, questions, just ask. Okay?
No.
Smile. I am. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner. And I didn't bring it with me, but I understand two of your highway crew are heroes right now.
Oh, they're heroes.
Yeah, for helping our town constable with an accident scene, and they did good work. So thanks from us to them.
We'll pass that along.
Good.
One of them already got it.
Excellent.
We've been a little bit busy the last couple weeks. Snow has kicked our butt. We did manage to get the South End sewer bend situation remedied. I haven't had a chance to get a camera in there yet. We're planning on going down there tomorrow morning. Hopefully I can get a camera out and see what's going on there, but that went fairly well it was pretty cold that day and it was kind of not the best day ever, but we got it.
Good.
We've been out several times in the last couple weeks for snow. We're getting our teeth kicked in by these little squalls and all this crazy stuff. We've been out 9 times. Contractors have been called 7. So we're just chasing ourselves around in circles quite a bit.
What's the number? 42?
40.
40.
Last year we reduced it to 40 for them.
Okay.
We're still a ways away, but at least 3 more months of it to come. Not this past Sunday, the Sunday before, we had those cold temperatures. It was 7 below at the shop when we got there Monday morning. And through a bunch of missteps, the trucks were pretty much froze. The fuel was all gelled up. We tried to wait till they warmed up and tried to plug in block heaters and stuff and tried to get them going. Monday, that didn't happen. Tuesday morning, we got snow. So we attempted our best effort to plow the entire north end of the town with my pickup and the 550, which was not anywhere near as fun as it sounds. That was tough. I had to call Earls to come in and change filters and service call basically, and got everything running finally about mid-morning. I asked Hubbard's because they're all plowing a big truck, so they came across and they did the main drags for us and a couple of side roads. They did, Grove Street, East Pittsford Road and Post Road for us. So I got them, I had to pay them a little bit extra for coming over to do that, which really saved us, quite honestly, because we'd have been there forever trying to get this stuff all cleaned up. So is what it is, and it's behind us, and we've taken steps to hopefully remedy that. And just one other small thing, I got approved for a grant for culvert inventory. We have to do a culvert inventory by October of 27 and submit it to the state. I've got that signed, sealed, and delivered, so that's almost $5,600 for that. And I'm trying to get some sort of training on what needs to be done so we can do this in-house, but we can also hire the planning commission to either do it for us or help us. I would really like for us to do it so we get that experience going forward.
Good.
So that is where that is, and we've got a little bit of time to get that done. But
There was somebody from the planning commission that came out and trained back when they first came out.
yeah, that was
Can't remember who we did back then. But
she's a big bike person.
Oh, Susan Schreibman?
Schreibman.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So that's where we are with that. We've got a little bit of time, and I've reached out to the state, or not the state, Vermont Local Roads. They do some training on how to, do these things, and they don't have anything kind of in the queue right now. So
Okay.
Next is probably the planning commission, and see if we can get somebody to show us how to do this stuff, and we'll start knocking that off.
Good.
That's where I am.
Okay, we need to get your trucks into the highway garage.
I hear there's some bays at the fire station that are available.
yeah.
It's a little trade.
Yeah.
Just leave them in there till you need them. They'd be all right.
Yeah. Okay, questions for our town road commissioner? Comments, suggestions?
I guess we just need to figure out when we can get some fire trucks into that building.
Yeah.
I
That
think
question
we should
was,
be asking.
There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to finish those bays off if they're not finished already, and at least get trucks in there.
Yeah, because he can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
this
cold.
is not
It's
good.
cold out.
It's gonna get
My
cold.
trucks weren't happy.
No.
you may have or may not have had issues, even if you took them out. If you,
Oh, yeah. No,
sometimes if the fuel isn't treated and you take them out when it's cold like that, you might have got like halfway up to
Right.
somewhere.
and I talked to our fuel vendor, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just started getting treated fuel the other day." I'm like, "It's too late because I got it like 2 weeks ago."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, my fuel vendor switches over in October.
do you have like just something from experience, like every time the guys fuel up, put like a half a quart of power service in the trucks? If
Well,
you
we've
get
been
into
using-
that,
We've been using that house stuff, but apparently
or
that, that doesn't fill the bill apparently,
yeah,
because we have been using that, and that
Yeah.
they pulled the cap off my tank, the tank on my truck, and it was like a candle in there.
yeah. Sometimes the fuel is, depending on where you're buying the fuel, different vendors have better quality fuel. I know there was a while back when Irving's had some trouble with their diesel fuel.
Yeah.
The biodiesel in it,
Yeah,
and
they
it,
had the bio one that one winter.
Yeah.
That was a mess.
so I don't know. Maybe a combination of the house and some power
Yeah,
service.
yeah, we kind of stocked up on power service since then, and we're
Yeah.
got everything treated. Everything's hyper treated now anyway, because
Well, you get some,
Earl's dosed everything hard
Yeah.
to get everything going.
okay,
Okay, if there's nothing more, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Happy New Year.
same to you.
Same to
Happy
you.
New Year. Okay, Ed Dumas, and I'm thinking maybe it's Ted Washburn with the police report. Good evening.
Good evening. Ed had a appointment today, so he wasn't going to be here. Very quickly, so I have a cruiser replacement schedule and a cruiser bid language proposal.
Okay,
So do we need to schedule a committee meeting
okay,
to go over those?
all right, police committee. All right, so it's me and Matt. We should talk about what works with your schedule too.
Yep.
Okay. And it's more fun meeting with you guys than on the personnel manual, so. Okay. What else?
Had a resident approach me about a month and a half ago about the crosswalk in front of town hall. He lives just down the road, walks with his pre-K student son here every day for the bus, has run into numerous issues where people aren't slowing down at the crosswalk or sometimes stopping when he's in the crosswalk. He had asked me about the flashing lights like West Street has in the city. I said, well, it's a state highway. I believe it's AOT. I reached out to AOT, who responded with, sounds like a great project. We'd give you a permit for it, but that's it. So I sent Bill the email exchange I had with AOT about that.
Okay,
But I said, well, I will bring it up to the board and see what we want to, how we want to move forward on it.
would be good to pursue that AARP for us old
Twice,
folks.
been denied twice.
Yeah, I think we tried that. Yeah.
Oh, we should try it
For
again.
that exact purpose.
Explain that we're aging,
Yeah, well, yeah.
okay?
So we have tried grants for that and it didn't go anywhere.
Okay,
You remember what the signs cost?
I mean, it was more than a year ago now, so.
enforcement, can you, yeah, you can enforce them out here.
Sign
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the beacons is like, a post with a beacon, I think is like 3,000 for a single-sided beacon or is 3,600 for a double-sided beacon. And of course we need two.
How much?
About 30. If we want the flashing lights on one side of the sign, like facing the lane coming at them, it's like $3,000. If we want the signpost to have it on both sides of the road, so it'd be like $3,600 each.
They flash together though, right?
They synchronize, yeah.
So if you had them, you wouldn't really need them to be double sided because
Right, you could have
theoretically one
So
should,
what?
Well, it catches more line of sight traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
It depends on both sides. So
Yeah.
then there's, do we want solar or do we want to have Green Mountain Power install service to them like we have with the ones on Post Road? That's less maintenance long term, maybe a little more upfront. And then Ted and I were talking if V-Trans would allow us to possibly put speed monitoring signs like we have at the school. And some of those have the ability to have remote triggers. So when someone presses the crosswalk button, it could potentially also change a message on that sign for the crosswalk. So it would be a combination of things alerting people. But I've watched people stand out here for minutes and minutes and minutes
Mhm.
trying to cross the road and cars are at speed, not yielding.
Is
So-
somebody going to ask us to do, well, I suppose if we go after a grant, they might, to do a pedestrian count to find out how many people actually use the crosswalk?
if one uses it,
that hasn't come.
one gentleman is,
Right.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I
Four-
was just,
four times.
That's 20 times a week. If it's just him, that's 20 times a week.
Yeah, 4 times a day.
and it's
I'm
worth it.
not saying no, I'm just
I
saying,
know.
there's a really good crosswalk system in Montpelier as you turn to go toward the State House, go by the high school. And there's a pedestrian pathway there and there's a trigger and it's really good. Even with that, I saw and reported a guy almost hit by a car there. So it's not perfect, and that's very, very high traffic area right there, both for pedestrians and for cars. But I would really like to, I mean, why not? This is a main.
Try to find
thoroughfare.
out, yeah, we need it.
Just see if we can get the safety grants that we go after every year.
That's not something VLCT will fund.
Oh, our highway guys will have to walk here, the police walk back and forth every day, we don't want them getting hit.
Yeah. All right.
There's
Well-
some cities that put foam bricks and you can carry a foam brick across the road, like that's pretty effective.
Yeah.
But, it's not a matter, I don't think it's a matter of desire. I think it's a matter of where we pay for it from. And that's,
Yeah.
so I've reached out to the vendor we got the speed limit signs from to see what they can come up with. But I don't think there's one vendor that can do everything for us. So we want to make sure they're compatible if that's what we want to go with, or maybe do it in stages. But I think the flashing lights is actually a worthwhile thing to do, and they really get it done. Like they really do. That's V-Trans, and when we first did this, I reached out to V-Trans a couple years ago and got basically the same response. Like, we will be happy to give you a permit to do that.
They're not gonna help.
No,
Um,
at least they'll give us a permit and they won't stop us.
so one of the options is get a couple of prices, put it on a ballot item for March.
Oh, we have time. Not a
have to-
lot, but we do have time.
Ballots have to be done by
Not that big of an item.
I would say unless if we wanted to do the flashing beacon signs and speed signs, we probably less than 20,000.
So wait, isn't there
Highway
a
funds
surplus in the highway fund?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't know since I go there, but.
look at that.
You're looking to spend.
For cars.
Yeah.
This is people.
It's that
mean, if we
surplus that
could-
Andrew is always trying to get you guys to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I don't think Andrew entirely understands the,
I would still want to lean on V-Trans, pay for half of these things. It's
We
their
can try.
road.
right.
It is their road. You're right.
If we
Like-
petition somebody, but we should try to do that.
Driving through Woodstock often, Woodstock has not the
Flags,
bricks, but
they
they have the
flag.
flag.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
in the interim, getting flags and a bucket on each side would at least maybe help while you're figuring out.
We got the fire department hose dummy, right?
We do.
You know what I
So
mean?
you
Like,
throw that at the hood of the car when they
I
don't
don't know. I
stop.
just, I mean, I drive by Woodstock and I giggle, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to see the flag. You know?
Yeah.
But it's there in the interim while you're trying to figure out. At least you're kind of helping in a little way.
Mhm. Let's,
It's just an idea. It's fairly probably inexpensive,
yeah.
but at least until you get how we would pay and how all that.
So can we get that? What do you guys think? Highway guys, can we get a stopgap flag system out there for now and then figure out where the money's coming from
Can
out of your
imagine that's-
surplus?
Yeah, you can't imagine flags is more like a couple $100.
Okay.
Try some, because
Can you research that, Bill? Thank you. All right, problem temporarily solved.
Mhm.
Longer range.
Pending resolution.
Okay.
With Matt, a very good segue. The SRO starts Thursday.
Oh, good. Okay.
So if school gets back in, he will be back in. I will be shadowing for a week and a half, just to kind of ease that gap. Question about the SRO, so
Okay.
Now it's budget questions. So after we had gone through, we were going through all the department budgets and the reimbursement line came up and I
Yep.
had gone back in my notes and I wasn't able to reconstruct. I know that in committee it made sense to me at the time, but later on I couldn't remember how we came up with that number. So
it was a based of bottom line and
well, if you could look into that and send us a breakdown, it would be helpful, I guess.
Is that the 59,520 that we're
Yeah.
projecting for income? Because I think we added Lynette's uniform and cruiser and all of the other stuff to it, didn't we?
think so.
We did.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Certainly I included a portion of the benefits, but
Yes.
there's no health insurance involved,
There's no health
so
insurance.
that's a big
But
chunk
there's
right there. That's
pension. And
Yep.
there's, yeah. Okay.
That is all I got.
Questions? How are things at the south end?
Daily. We're still getting daily thefts from Dick's Sporting Goods, Hannaford's. Not sure about the other stores because they don't seem to call, but at least Dick's and Hannaford's are daily.
Food and camping equipment still?
Sweatshirts, jackets, all that fun stuff. As far as Hannaford's, it can go from shampoo and deodorant or food, whatever. So
Okay.
Not- as bad, but still daily.
All right. Questions?
And you know, there's no need for that because if they came down to us, we would give them coats, hats, boots.
Mhm.
You know, food.
Yeah, the ones who we've caught so far, it's tied to illicit drug use. So
Not personal use.
Okay. If there is nothing else, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And police committee meeting. Yeah, I'm gonna make a note. Okay. Next, Chris Clark, Town Fire. Let me ask you first, Ted. Any projected move-in date for the public safety building that you have heard?
our side is coming along very nicely. I was up there today.
Uh-huh.
We're missing floor trim, but they were putting in toilet fixtures, sinks, drinking stations, things like that today. I had heard the similar thing about the pump potentially being here, not here. I don't know. My rough guess by looking at where they are, mid-February would be my guess.
I believe to get a certificate of occupancy, the suppression system has to work.
It does.
They were gonna allow the jockey pump to
Do it.
run the suppression system
And then
in the interim.
the other pump is like mid-January. So
Did-
now they're questioning, was it worth replumbing the other one to do that? And then unplumb it to put the other one in.
So we had a bit of conversation prior to the meeting started. Would you kind of summarize what you know about this?
See JP up there, so I didn't want to step on his toes. Well, what I sat in on a meeting with JP, their Friday meetings, and the fire pump is kind of the big thing. As you know, there was that delay. It wasn't ordered on time, or it was ordered and then the delivery time, instead of being 90 days, was 6 months or something. There was the big snafu with that. So the pump is supposed to leave where it was manufactured and supposed to tentatively be here by mid-January. And then they can install it. So the question was, is it worth installing, using the pump that's going to be there to fill the fire trucks out of the reservoir that could be plumbed into the sprinkler system to get by with, and then have to dismantle all that and put the other pump in. And I think the idea was, well, if they're going to be able to get this here by mid-January, get it installed, get it done once, there would be a little longer delay. There is some finish work and stuff, I took a look at the building, it looks good, but one of the things that had come up was that, where they were, the old station was not sprinkled.
Mhm.
So there's some debate as whether or not the state would allow occupancy before the sprinkler system was up and running, because this is a new addition, it was, if the old building was sprinkled, then they'd have to move into, but there was no clear cut evidence as to, yeah, that would work or no, it wouldn't work. So I think the general gist I got, it would be better to, let's get this finished, get it done once, and then get them moved in. One of the things that I think as a board, we should talk about and instruct our clerk of the works or whatever to do is, I think the delays now are on them. And, we paid for some of the initial delays,
Mhm.
and I do believe it's time for VMS to maybe come up with helping us, it's the other way. Now, these delays are on their subs
Mhm.
for either not ordering the right cabinets or not ordering the pump in time. And as you all know, we've lucked out very well that we've displaced the highway crew. And we did not have to rent a building. But if the town were paying a couple of $1,000s or more a month, I don't remember what we paid for the building over here in 2013. But if we were paying for a building, number one, we would be on our lease now, and we might be in a jam. So there needs to be, I think, that discussion needs to happen at some point. But I think right now they're getting a lot of stuff done. It's just seems to be a little further behind than I anticipated, especially the finish work. I thought they would have been a little further along.
I know there was the headaches with the cabinets.
Right, the cabinet,
So some of the finish work couldn't be done, but I saw that they were doing a lot of the finish work on our side.
right.
So
Okay, well, I'll ask the same question of the fire chief. So what he's heard.
alrighty.
Thank you very much. Which brings us to Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
Good evening.
Hi, Chris.
How are you?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Just one thing tonight. A couple months ago, you asked us to have a fundraiser for our Cascade system.
Yes.
We've got some money. I'm just asking a question of how we're going to get the rest. Can we put it on the
Gotcha.
ballot? Any kind of funds you guys have hidden somewhere?
We've got the audit report later. Feel free to listen in.
Hello?
Try to.
Okay, we have a plan that we're working on for some possible funding, as you know, so we don't have any answer for you on that. How much have you raised so far with your efforts? And thank you very much, by the way. Couldn't hear that if you answered. Yeah, no, still not. It's showing as muted. Oh, it's off.
Sorry about that. I didn't hear a word you guys said.
Okay, well, we didn't hear you either, which is what I was saying. So
Oh.
how much have
my
you
question-
raised?
My question is, how can we raise the rest of the money?
How much do we need to raise, Chris?
Well, I have got $13,550, so we need about 73,500 more.
Okay. All right. Sharon and I are working on something.
Okay.
So we'll follow up. We have been working on it. We'll follow up on that and get back to you. So that moves to the top of the list. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So if it did have to be put on the ballot, which I'm not saying it does, but that would have to be decided soon, correct?
Yes.
27th of January.
Ideally, it should be ready to go before our pre-town meeting so we can talk about it. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what we can do in the next week or so, if we can.
All right. Thank you. That's all I was, that's all I had to say.
So
tonight.
what have you heard for a move-in date? And can we, that's part one. Part two, can we move in some of the fire trucks so we free up the highway garage?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, that might be an insurance question. I haven't heard an official date. The only thing I've heard is the thing about the sprinkler pump.
Okay.
It's supposed to be here mid-January, I was told, and then it's going to take them 2 weeks to put it in. And after that, I would think it would be good. I don't know. It probably won't be done, but I would imagine it would be done enough to put a truck in there. But I don't know how this insurance would do without sprinklers in the building, even though the old one did not have sprinklers.
Right. Bill, would you call League of Cities and Towns and see if you can get an answer to that question? Yeah, thank you. So we'll see if we can find out, Chris.
Okay.
Chris, is that 2 weeks of labor, or is it because they're not going to be able to start right away?
I was told it's 2 weeks of labor.
Oh.
To put the pump in and do all the piping in that sprinkler room. And they have to rent a crane to get it in. It goes in through a hatch on the roof. So they got to coordinate all that to.
Is that crane budgeted for?
That's in
I have
Vienna.
no idea.
That's up to them.
That's all up to the contractor.
Yeah.
That's not on us.
All right, anything else for Chris Clark? Sharon and Mary. Fire K. Cascade. Okay, that's, if nothing else, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Kari Clark, Town Clerk and Treasurer.
Hello.
Hi there.
The only thing I have tonight is the date for our tax installment due date. I need it to be in our minutes and reflected on the video that it's a Friday. And I will not be there. Deb will not be there. Susan will be there because we're not going to be there, so she's going to come in. But the hours are still 8 to 2, nothing beyond 2 o'clock. I did put it in the paper for that. That is our Friday hours. I'm certain that since it's just Susan, she's not going to want to stay till 4:30. So that to me is pretty important to get out to people, that they must make their payment before 2 o'clock on that Friday, because all the other same rules apply afterwards, unfortunately. So that's all that I have.
Hey, the tax installment is due January 10th, which is a Friday. It would be best to pay before the 10th, but if you choose to pay on the 10th, it needs to be received prior to 2 o'clock, which is when the town clerk's office closes.
Yes. It's just not something that we can make happen to accommodate people this time. There's some unfortunate circumstances that have happened, and this is the way it has to be right now.
Okay.
But I wanted it to be as publicized as much as possible, so that's why I said it.
Is there a note on the door as well?
Not yet. It's a little too early for that, but I can certainly make sure it gets on there soon.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for our town clerk and treasurer? Nope. We'll be talking about the audit report later. You're welcome to stay for that, but I think it's going to be Matt and I kind of reporting, and if you wish, you correcting us.
Okay.
It's up to you.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, let me just say that, and that everyone should know, and before you leave, is that we had a clean audit report from our auditor, which yet again shows both the efficiency and the diligence of the town clerk's and treasurer's office. So thank you very much, Kari.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your efforts.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mike Delehanty, is he on? Okay.
Barbara.
No JP, no Barbara, no Larry. Okay.
They'll all be here tomorrow night.
They will be here tomorrow night. Larry did send around an email saying the transfer station would be open on New Year's Day.
Yes, we will.
Okay, that's the Wednesday. So load up your trash. Have a great start to your new year and clean out your house. Get it up there. Okay, Marcia Chioffi, Town Head Lister.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year before we end
Happy
this
New
session.
Year.
Okay. Well, we got our love letter from the state today. I've taken a look at it, but we anticipated what was going to be coming. Our COA is out of whack. Our COD is out of whack, which we knew was going to happen. We have already, well, as I've told you in several other meetings, we've already begun the process of sending the paperwork to PV&R, the R308. Between Marie and I and Kathy, we hope to have that to PV&R by January 15th. so that it will be there in anticipation of getting the order to reappraise in July.
Okay, so that's my question. The letter you got, is that the letter that orders us to reappraise?
No, not yet. No, Mary, we will not get that until July. What you got, and I think there was a copy for you as well, was what our CLA and COD is. And
Okay.
it's not good.
Yeah, we should.
You just tell us what it is.
Yeah, just tell us what the CLA is. Yeah.
Our CLA is 72.91, down from 72.36 was what we had last year. And the COD, I'm looking at my list right here, is 23.69 from 18.75 last year.
So does this mean we're improving?
No.
Marcia, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said the CLA was for last year.
The CLA, Matt, is 72.91% or 0.7291.
Right, but what was it the year prior?
Let me see. 7236. 72.36.
So
improved.
It's a small improvement.
Yeah,
we
because
improved.
once it gets below 80, we're in trouble, right? Is what I understood.
Well, that's all changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Change, yeah.
Yeah. We're
That's
definitely going to get the letter to
Overpraised when they did it.
All right.
So,
But now they've changed the school formula and how they're doing
Yeah,
it. So
they
they're
did,
basically
and-
pretending that our CLA is actually good because
yeah,
better.
we just got this today. So, Maria and I are working on getting the year-end reports all done in anticipation of filing the final grand list to the state. So we have I've kind of pushed this on the side, and we will deal with it probably later this week or early next week. So,
Okay.
the other thing is, and didn't want to bog the board down with a lot of information, but we did get the final report of the Act 68 statewide reappraisal and property data. I'd be happy to send it to you, or I did highlight some points as to what the suggestions were from the report. Not too happy with what came through, but so and everybody says it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion. Well, a suggestion can also turn into a command or a demand to do. There's a 37-page report that I would be happy to send to you, or as soon as the webinar is posted on the PVNR site, I could send you the link so that you could take a look at that. Jill Remick actually gave us the lowdown on what was going to happen. There's a lot going on. It's a lot that, they want to change the date from April 1st to January 1st. I don't know how that's going to work with the filings on April 15th. Another thing that they want to change is they're looking at right now at changing the programs that we use for a unified program, which is fine. But right now we've got 133 towns that are currently reappraising. We're still down at the end of the line of 2029. It's right now it's a nightmare. It really is.
So Marcia, would you be willing to send Bill the electronic version of that report?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I
and then
won't
he
send
can
him
just-
the 195 page report because that's something that came from AIIO with recommendations, but this is statistics from all of the United States as to how every state is doing reappraisals. So I didn't feel it was appropriate for us to, take a look at that. But this report here is the actual report of what was sent to the state with recommendations as to what we're going to do for going forward.
Okay.
The Act 68. So, I mean, some of the, I could give you the summary of recommendations if you want tonight. Otherwise, I can do the summary and send it to you so that, we don't have to, go over this tonight completely.
Well, I wouldn't, I need to read things. So if you could send the summary along with
Absolutely. Yeah.
That would be
Yep.
great. Thank you.
Yep.
There usually is an executive summary, and this is a report to the legislature with recommendations for changes that they
Correct.
have to make. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Well, that'll give us some time because it's a new legislature going in.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, they're not going to attack anything immediately.
I have already reached out to our state legislators, to, Terry Weeks and to Brian Collmore and to, oh boy, the last one, Dave Weeks. Yes, Dave Weeks. Yeah. But I haven't heard anything back from them. So we'll see. Chris Holland has been very involved with trying to get all the information that he can regarding this, this new report. It's not going to be a lot of fun. It really isn't. And right now, I'm really skeptical as to whether we should pursue the going from a board of listers to an assessor, as there are right now. I've reached out to a lot of people. There are no assessors available. So I don't know whether you wanted to put a timeline on when you would be hiring an assessor as opposed to abolishing the board of listers.
Well, that was one of the things we have to discuss tonight, because if we're going to put it on the ballot, we should have it ready. We should have it drafted so that we can talk about it at pre-town meeting. And, the board hasn't, we agree that we should put it on the ballot, but whether the board wants to support it and make a real push for it is kind of the question. And I'm not sure, we haven't had that discussion yet.
Sure. And I didn't know what your timeline would be, because you could build in, a date ahead to abolish the board of listers and bring in an assessor.
But Marcia, you're saying that there's no assessors available?
None.
And
that's why, this really, really worries me. It really does, because
You'd have to.
To authorize the select board
Or
to.
change the system if person, if we can find somebody or they may, and the voters might not like that and just say no.
Well,
They
that's
get the
it,
choice.
because you
I
don't
think if
have,
we don't even put it on, I think if we don't even put it on the ballot, if we ever get to a point where we're short on listers, or we're short on hours in our lister department, we could always hire in a assessor subcontractor to help us through.
that's
And we could
correct, sir.
probably
Yes, you could.
find a way to make that into a
But
stepping stone full-time
finding
position if we have to.
finding one seems to be the problem.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsford's gonna be having the
Yeah.
same issue. If Gail Gantek's getting done, Gail was doing all the personal property in Pittsford as well. So, when push comes to shove, we may be able to team up with Pittsford and drum somebody up and essentially split their salary. You know, they can subcontract to them,
Well,
subcontract to
Lisa
us.
Wright is doing the, she is the assessor for the town of Pittsburgh, but she has 5 other towns that she is an assessor for. Is she gonna take on another 6th one? I don't think so.
Someone in the area may be willing to.
She might, yeah, somebody might be able to.
One of them things, you know?
Yes.
We made the move to switch to a hired road commissioner.
Mhm.
And, you know, there wasn't an abundance of applicants.
That's right.
Right.
So, but
And, you know,
somebody out there seeing a town looking for employment for a town job might find this something they might want to, you know, somebody that's already got a job, but might say, you know, this suits my lifestyle now better. So it's kind of that thing you make. I think the idea that we may have to transition in steps may be the way to go.
yeah,
Rather than
put
drop
out-
dead.
Put out like in the paper that we're looking for somebody.
Well, we need.
I agree that, you know,
No, we don't. No, we-
For a contract position.
no, yeah, if
so
we
from a
contract it
full
out.
board of
We
listers, I
are
mean,
gonna have a discussion with town council in
Yeah.
probably an hour,
Yeah.
so we
Can
might
we
Make
wanna.
sure we
flip-
have,
Yeah,
Cause that might be a good stepping stone, and maybe as Marcia retires, maybe somebody else wants to step up and we can just keep moving on with our listers and
well, and,
Maybe we-
you know, I'm not gonna abandon the town completely. I mean, I've given 15 years of my life plus my other life on the, on the planning commission and as a ballot clerk and whatnot. I mean, you know, we've been here since 1971 and have devoted our lives to the town of Rutland since 1971. So it's not like, you know, if you were in a bind once I leave this position, you know, I would definitely be available to step in and help.
so here's the question, because we've got to deal with it tonight.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that we not put this issue on the ballot for March?
Ah, that's a tough one. It really is. Do we have to make a decision tonight?
We're
Kinda.
getting pretty close to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
we've
I
got-
know.
I think we're
Um,
back into a corner.
Which way?
If we put it on the ballot, the voters approve it, then we gotta do it.
Right.
And we have to set a timeline, which
Right.
means that, and even if it's 2026, we start this, you gotta find somebody.
Seems like you have more.
Or the
flex-
other route is if we stay with what we've got, we find ourselves at a loss for getting individuals that are interested in being listers, then we can look to hire somebody on a contract basis to help us
Okay.
and then move forward. Kind of covers our tail.
what
a little
about
bit.
Joey, if we put some kind of advertisement out there saying this is what we're looking for into the future, is there anybody out there that's interested?
You know, we might
Yeah,
find out, like I said, that if we needed to hire somebody, you never know, somebody might want to come to work for Rutland Town, like I said, that's doing something
But
else, that's,
We may be able to, you know, just ask in some other towns around and maybe we'll
Right.
stumble upon somebody. And I've been looking around, there are towns that still have a board of listers that aren't as active and the assessors doing the work, you know, and that, but they still have a board of listers. So they have voted people that are overseeing the assessor to make sure that, you know, the people still have their voice.
Yeah.
There's some towns that still do that with road commissioners as well.
Yeah, but
So-
you know, the town of Rutland is, if you look at all the other towns in the state of Vermont, town of Rutland is really very, very unique. We have such a blend of residential, commercial, industrial. You know, it's not like West Rutland. It's really not even like Rutland City. We're very unique in what we do.
and we need to find a very unique person.
What's that?
So I'm not, I mean, we've got to decide one way or the other tonight, whether we're going to put something on the ballot, because we need to get the thing drafted if we are. So one way or the other, is there a motion that we do or don't?
My problem, Mary, is that if there's nobody out there right now and we put it on the ballot and the people say yes, and then we don't have anybody. I mean, we're kind of, Joey's right. We're backing ourselves into a corner. My thing would be stay with the listers and look for somebody in the future to take over.
Integrate into the system
That's correct. Yeah.
and then go that route. Somebody that might be looking for a career change.
Right.
or
There might
has-
be somebody out there that is an accountant that could do that, you know, or is, you know, in the field.
There may be another assessor out there that would want to take on.
And there right now are what they call junior assessors. We've got a list of those that aren't full-fledged assessors, but they're on their way to becoming a full-fledged assessor. Now, if you wanted to put this off for another year, bring it up in 2026, you may be better off than you are right now.
And then we could look for somebody.
Matt, haven't heard from you.
Well, you did some. I mean, I think I agree with what's been said. That it seems like we have more flexibility if we don't do anything now, for a variety of reasons that have been mentioned. And
Yeah.
you know,
I
if
think
we
right
can
now, the Board of Listers, we
cultivate
need some
people.
breathing room, you know, to see what's happening. I mean, there's so many things that are just happening right now, you know, with this Act 68 and with, you know, the state trying to do away with the Board of Listers and all these demands that are being put on us.
Okay, well, for the sake of, because we've had this on our agenda and we've debated it now
Right,
several
yeah.
months. For the sake of closure, for this year, is there a motion not to proceed with putting on the ballot
Do you
a,
need to do a motion to not do anything?
here's my,
That's my question, yeah,
Joey,
yeah.
technically probably not, but we have gone back and forth
You wanted to-
so
Exactly.
much. I want it clear that we're not going to pursue it this year.
I move,
And that we
I
thought
so
about it.
move.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded not to pursue changing from the lister to the assessor as a ballot item this year, this coming town meeting. Okay, that's good. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, that makes our meeting
Thank
with
you.
our,
That, it
Shorter.
really gives us a little bit of breathing room and
okay.
to see what we can come up with, and we will definitely pursue trying to, you know, put out feelers as to, are there some, you know, upstarts right out there that are, you know, pursuing the IAAO assessors, you know, certification.
Marcia, explain to me these junior assessors.
Yeah,
Can you get Mary a list of those so that in the future that might be something we could look at?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I can go on the town website and get a list of these junior assessors that are maybe a quarter or a half into their you know, assessor certification, and you know, they would definitely be somebody that we could maybe interview and look to.
Thanks, Marcia.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And we'll watch for the Act 68 report from Bill
Okay.
too.
Yeah, I will get that out to
Because we
Bill,
just
not
love
tomorrow.
reading that.
Then, yeah, then at the end of the week. So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank
Good
you
night,
much.
everyone, and Happy New Year once
Thanks.
again.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Town Administrator Bill Sweet. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Kevin is standing by to stand by.
Very good. Okay.
He's got his meeting information. All right. Did you want to go over the audit now? Did you want to, I mean, I don't know how, where you wanted to.
This probably would be a good time. So, The finance committee met with our town auditor, our town, AM Peiche's Andrew, and I just blanked. Simons, thank you. Town treasurer, Kari Clerk. Were you in on the meeting? I can't remember. Okay, you just got to listen to the minutes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And you do have minutes for that.
Okay, so you should have had in your packet several items. The one that we should probably spend a little time on is the thickest one. I should probably say it that way. But the others, we do require some action. There were two different audits done. One is the usual that we're familiar with that deals with the town funds. Much of this ends up in our town report. The second audit is the single audit, which was required because we spent more than $750,000 in federal funds in 1 year. So I'm trying to see if there's any way of doing this. They're all kind of called the same thing. There is a report on compliance for the U.S. Department of Treasury Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Program. That's a 2-pager that, along with the
So I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Mary be authorized to sign on behalf of the board all of those letters in that pile that require a select board signature, whatever they're called.
And nobody's seconded. Did you second?
I Sharon did
seconded.
before Matt
Thanks,
finished.
Sharon. Golly. Okay, he just went, okay,
I love you, Mary.
thank you.
You're welcome.
There are a few tweaks that Andrew wants to make, but they're minor, and he went over all of this with us. So that includes both audits, and this basically says that we're good. We've shared all of the information we need to, so the auditors can do a good job. How's that? As a summary. Motion's been made and seconded to authorize me to sign the letters of compliance for both audits. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Wait.
Aye.
You did? Okay. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. And Bill, if you can let Andrew know, because he has to make the
Final draft.
get the final ones in, so I can, you're here tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll be over tomorrow to sign them if he can get them to you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Now, the really thick one is the town's
Financial statement.
financial statement from all of our funding, all of our funds, all of our proprietary funds, all of our appreciation accounts. And Andrew told us what we need to look at in particular are pages 4 through 13, which is the meat of our funds, and page 21, which is our long-term debt, which talks about the two bonds that we have for Center Rutland and for the new one for McKinley. And also keep an eye on the footnotes. So 4 through 13, page 21, and footnotes. And then Matt will explain everything.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's any need to duplicate our finance committee meeting or obviously these reports, but I can certainly make note of things that I made notes on. And those would be page 6.
Yep.
I circled a couple of numbers on here and explanatory notes, so you'll see just over halfway down the page the general highway number, that $333,000. That's the carryover in the highway fund. And then you'll see down that the bottom of that column before the totals, the assigned police services number, the 232,000. That is the official fiscal year end hotel fund balance. At the prior meeting, we heard a balance that was in the 60s. That was actually only the surplus for the fiscal year over what was spent from funds in that fiscal year, which then had to be added to the prior year balance, and that's how we get to the 232. This year, of course, we had planned to spend 150,000, but due to the ballot wording, we now don't want to do that. We want to put that into the next budget. So
Those are the same notes I have.
the money is there to do
Money's
that.
there.
That's important. And then on page 8, I have a note. What does it mean? Who knows? Halfway down on general government, you'll see a negative number in the right-hand column. Oh, okay. So we spent more than was budgeted. So my note is that this was due to the payment out of restricted funds, meaning capital improvement, that were not budgeted but were anticipated. So we didn't have an actual number in the budget for it, but that was money we planned to spend. And then I think page 21, which I mentioned last time. This is where our debt service is mapped out. So this doesn't go in the actual budget, but gets factored into setting the tax rate ultimately. So this is those numbers you see in the middle of the page, at the beginning of the second half. Those are the principal and interest totals that we'll have on both bonds.
Right.
So, and the 25-26 fiscal year, my note indicates we're going to need $323,854.68 on the tax rate sheet to cover that. There is about 252,000 left that was set aside previously for Center of Rutland to pay principal and interest. So 133,000 is being spent this year. 130,000 will be spent in 2026. And so after that, then we'll have to be planning for those payments, and we'll need 107,000 for that.
So we have enough when we voted to move $500,000 from the cash to open over. We have enough to pay this year and next year. So on the Center Rutland bond. Is that, I think that's right.
Correct.
So, but Piper's got to be paid eventually.
We're gonna have about 7 years, we're gonna have to pay
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah.
But the
And
first,
that's what this, and they're both coming together. We're finishing one. We're doing all of one because we did a 10-year bond because it had a better interest rate.
have what? 7 years or 2?
7 years of 2, and if we have to do a bond for the swimming pool, it could be a third one toward the end of.
Depending on when that shoe
That's right.
drops.
Yeah. So there it is.
It's kind of what we've anticipated. We try to stretch them out and get them.
Yep. So, okay. That's what it looks like. Well, the rest
It's
is,
working out like we planned.
it is. I mean,
And-
we
which is
also,
Okay.
the 10-year bond that we did for McKinley was getting us a much better interest rate, or a better interest rate. So, and we used all of the ARPA funds. So we've been wise in using the money that we have.
And I don't remember the amount we bonded for McKinley. With that,
Do I have
because
that?
I know the center station was a $2 million bond.
It
Um,
was one
this
point
was
eight.
3 point,
It's right on 20.
We had three,
oh, is it?
It's right on page 21.
It's the 2.5.
There you go.
Yeah, it's, what was it, top
Oh,
left?
there it is, 2.517850.
And McKinley Center was 1.8.
Mhm.
Okay, so we were about 700,000 more.
That was on a blended interest rate.
Yeah.
For Center Mountain. And this is fixed for.
Mhm.
So that's saying this will be 2031, right? Or 2034, it'll be finished. I did read that right, due November 1st, 2034.
Got a little bit left, 2030. Oh, you mean
The new one,
center.
the new one.
Which one is 2035, 36? You got one more payment.
And then the old bond, it says November 15th, 2033 due. So I'm assuming that's the final payment due date.
Yeah.
Up on that same 21 on the right, the two listings of the bonds.
Yeah.
So they're going to run concurrently for about 8 or 9 years.
So there it is. This is back to your comment, when things are all built at one time and 40 years later, we have to replace them all. This is what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we did pretty good staggering them
Mhm.
10 years. The decision by the board though, to go with a shorter term. You know, we could have done it longer, but in the long run, it would have cost the town more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Almost
Actually,
like
just
what
look at the difference in interest rates between the two.
Would
It's
it
a
be
good deal.
fiscal year 2020, beginning of 2026 that we have to actually come up with money for Center Rutland.
Right.
So you're talking
These,
basically 7 years.
right.
And then, you know, at that point, of course, we can look at where's capital improvement and, you know, do we have monies that?
What we'll need to do at the time, provided most of us are here, or whoever's sitting here, some of us will be, some of us, you know, is figure out what funds are available to the town and how we want to apply them. You know, I don't think we can project what we're going to do, but if we can, you know, if we have excess 1% money and we can do that, because bonds appear on your tax bill as a separate item. Am I correct? So in 26, there will be 2. When do, or do we start with the next year for Center State or McKinley? McKinley actually starts first showing up on the tax bill, right?
I think it would.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going to show up first, and then Center will show up because we allocated those funds we had in reserve at the time to pay that.
So there we are. Anyway, I think generally we need a motion to approve the 2 audit reports, even though you've already authorized me to sign. It would be good if we all approved them.
Move to accept.
Motion made to accept the audit reports, seconded by Joe. Any discussion, any further discussion? Thank you, Matt, for your summary.
When you guys went over this with Andrew, did he find any things that we need to do better?
There's this letter that doesn't have a label on it. Well, actually, it's on the second page, the management letter comments. This is kind of 2.5 pages of suggestions.
What's
that are to be
the
followed
heading,
up
Matt?
on.
What's the first page?
Well, on this page, it doesn't say anything.
Our audit, there isn't a title to it, so it's
Okay.
2 pieces of
It's
paper,
this one
and the
here.
second page says management letter
Right.
comments.
right.
Okay. Well, I'm just, you know, usually when they do stuff,
We do.
if there's some shortcomings or things that could be done better to clarify or do stuff, recommendations,
There,
okay?
actually, there are, because there were only 2 people working in the town clerk's office at the time, that always creates a problem when you want to have 2 sets of eyes on any cash transactions or any transactions. Now there's a third person. So going forward, it's going to be a little easier to provide the second set of eyes. The other thing, though, on page 3, there were a couple of things. There's a lack of policy or procedural guidance related to business continuity and disaster recovery planning, as well as a formal accounting manual. We do need to do both of those things. And of course, I guess we could ask Nemrick. The League of Cities and Towns probably doesn't have anything like
They do
this.
not.
No? No. But Nemrick may. And a written disaster recovery plan, we really do need to have. So if we lose data or system shut down because town hall gets flooded or burned or whatever, this is different from our emergency management manual. This would be, how do we get our data back? We do need that as well. So in answer to your question, yeah, there are some good recommendations there. We also need to do a formal fraud training. So people who work for the town can be aware of where fraud might occur and be prepared to report or do something about it. So, and that would apply, I think, to all of us, elected official as well as, people in departments all the way down. So
Might be something in the personnel policy to put in.
yeah, so those good. So that's the meat of the stuff. So do these things is on our agenda. So thank you. We should hang on to those. Okay. We haven't voted on approving the 2 audit reports. We have made the motion and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the 2 audit reports prepared by A.M. Peisch, please say aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous 5-0. So thank you all. Great reading. And I gotta say, I really enjoy working with Andrew and Kari and Matt and having the group come together and kind of hash these things out because it just makes more sense when you hear from people who know what they're doing. Yay. Okay, so that
Right.
takes care of A.
Excellent. In your packet, number 1 and number 2 are related. We had talked at the last meeting about creating an excavation ordinance because of a fire district that had to do some repairs. So put together a draft letter to send out to all of them. There was also the issue that had come up a few months ago where there was another fire district who we had found had dug up the road to install some lines. And they said they had authority to do it. And number 2 in your packet is what was recorded in the land records as their authority, which they're leaning on to be able to dig up the road at their discretion.
So are we looking at 2D?
I would say so.
The committee may use and occupy such portions of the highway within the district as may be necessary for constructing and maintaining the waterworks and water mains.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. This is specific to fire district number 5. So it's not to all fire districts. It's only specific to theirs. And there's a map, which is Exhibit A, which shows the limits of that. So that may be separate from this, but I think what they were using was exactly that section for the reason why they could dig it up and not let us know.
And this is Fire District 5?
Correct.
Okay.
And then it was the other one of the other ones on the other side of Killington Avenue that we found had dug up the road. But this, we talked about sending a letter, letting all of them know, like, hey, we understand. But so that was the letter that I drafted for that purpose.
So can I make a suggestion on the letter?
Absolutely.
That would be to provide them here the emergency contact info that they would need if they
for the highway
have
department?
something that needs to be, addressed immediately.
Yep.
Middle of the night, whatever.
Yeah. I'm not sure this necessarily says that they have the right to
dig it up
our
with no
road.
notice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
felt
kind
that
of
it did.
wondering. Yeah, I know what they feel.
I
So we
mean,
got
it
our
says-
lawyer coming on in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got two sitting in front of us. too. It's very constructing and maintaining. Yeah, I mean, to me, that says they have the right to occupy.
Right.
in
May
the-
use and
in the
occupy.
right away.
Mhm.
That was my thought.
It's really,
Since
We gave them permission to run their water lines in the right of way.
yeah,
We did not give them permission to dig up at their discretion
right.
without,
and since one of these signatures on here is my father's, I could tell you that that's how he would interpret that as
I
well.
can tell you that.
What, Joey's way?
Yeah.
Yeah, my,
It,
Well,
it,
so
same
if
way.
they directionally bore, that would be okay, right? And stayed out of the right of way.
yeah, they'd be
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's, to me, it's just like the railroad gave us right to run that sewer line. Okay, but if you want to go down there and dig it up when it breaks, you better well tell them you're digging,
yeah, yeah.
you know? And it's, to me, it's the same thing. We've given I think all of the fire districts permission to run their water lines within the right of way and to probably cross the roads.
Well, this,
But in a,
I don't know if other ones exist. Like, I don't know if there's other agreements like this that exist,
I don't know.
but yeah.
Right.
But
So-
certainly adding that's no problem.
So do you want to do something tonight or do we want to have this sent to town council and tell them it's coming?
I mean, we could get Kevin's opinion on this as to whether this gives them permission to dig without a permit. I don't believe it does.
I don't think so.
I think it
think
says
so
they can
either.
put their water lines in our right of way.
I want to buy them real
One
quick.
would
see what
hope
it says.
that common sense and cooperation would induce people to behave if we ask them to notify us and the reasons why they need to do that. But,
What's your pleasure? Do you want to approve the letter tonight with that?
oh yeah, I was fine with the letter.
Cause I'm probably next week I'll have the, invoice breakdown from VLCT for their costs. I was going to include this with that. We bill the fire districts. The ones that get the bill is going to include this along with those also, but,
Okay.
but I was gonna send it to all the ones I have.
Okay. With, Matt's addition of providing emergency contact information for each fire district.
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve the letter as drafted?
So move.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Problem. Take care of that. And then, so the other thing on your, that was it for the packet for right now. The, on your desk, left you, something from Randall about the library. They're having public meetings on their plans. And, I did.
That's received.
I did talk to VLCT about adding another fire district to our policy.
Yeah.
And they said, no, the ones we have can stay, but they don't do that kind of relationship anymore. They don't allow them to happen anymore. So I've already talked to Jim and broke the news. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But so they said that the ones that are there can stay, but we can't add any new ones. I got a phone call.
So did you pass that word
I
on
did.
to?
I
Okay.
Give him the good news. So he said, appreciated the help and
Okay, we tried.
we tried. I got a call from David Rosenblum. He is unfortunately having to withdraw as our representative. He had some health issues and is no longer going to be able to continue representing us. So I will add that to the list of vacancies. We also have not received any letters of interest for the planning commission. Our kind of our window, the date we put on the letter had passed. So I didn't know. I'm assuming you want me to reissue the notice of letters of interest, and we'll see if we can get somebody. So now that he was with the David was with the Transportation Council. He was with planning. So we don't have a primary or an alternate at this point. So
here, what about regional commission?
we don't have I'm sorry, that's what he was. He was regional board of commissioners. Yeah. So yeah, we don't have anybody at the
All
moment.
right. If it didn't conflict with select board nights, I would be interested, but it conflicts with, oh, you guys would like to get rid of me, wouldn't you?
We move select board nights to Monday. Like it used to be way back in the day.
Way back, way back.
And they moved them to the conflicted with monthly meetings.
Okay,
I did follow up with Norma Levy. She had the question or concern about her well.
yes.
And then I got a call from Nancy Goodrich, who had done the subdivision. The Goodriches are ending their bid to build a house.
Oh.
They've said there's just too many issues with the neighbors, and they are withdrawing their request. So
Okay.
the subdivision was approved, but if they don't file the Mylar within 90 days, the approval expires. So they're not going to file the Mylar, so nothing's going to change.
Okay.
So,
That was one that, other than the subdivision approval, which didn't touch on the issues
right.
that was of concern to neighbors.
Right.
We really had no authority other than to send her in the direction of, state agencies, which do.
Yep. Kevin's gonna be joining. And then the last thing, there are legislative changes, new laws going into effect on Wednesday. Some of them are on open meeting law, which we meet the requirements here all the time. That's no big deal. There is a new one for select board chairs that have to take ongoing regular open meeting law training. So VLCT has that available. But mayors, town managers, and select board chairs all required to take the annually. So that's one of the things changing. There's other things.
Do we have a list of when those are available?
I haven't seen the schedule from VLCT yet, but when I see that, I can let you
I
know.
wonder if I can get MCLE credits
I
for it.
was wondering, but
Yeah.
aren't you trying to retire?
Well, no, I up for 2 more years and I just paid my liability insurance, so I'm in.
And I think
Okay,
that's everything we had for the.
all right. So there is on your desk a regional meetup for select board members. It is going to be held at the West Rutland Town Hall on Thursday, January 16th at 5:30 p.m. It's kind of maybe a chance to raise some issues, to see what common issues we have, and maybe direct our legislators to pay attention. I want to go to it. I was planning on going to it. Anyone's invited, so I hope you all consider going to it. If you have if you can't make it, but you have issues you think we should raise as a town and see if other towns are similarly plagued by a problem, let us know. And then we can raise them.
One of the things that hasn't come up is this whole dispatching thing.
Is that dead, Ted?
Moment, yes. I imagine it will most likely pop up again in a few years, as it tends to. It becomes a hot ticket item, and then it goes away, and then it comes back up.
What happened with the state saying that they didn't make a mistake in moving to 2 PSAPs, but they were gonna go back to 4?
That would be news to me.
Okay, that was the last thing that I think we heard about a year ago.
So I would be shocked if it's.
No, they didn't admit anything. They just said they were gonna go back and forth.
Yeah.
I would.
Because the level of dispatch services for you guys is borderline on being
It's,
poor at best.
we're having a huge staffing issue.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad I put candy in your drawer?
And the initiative for Rutland County kind of just, the state was gonna at first put monies up for these, and then they withdrew that in favor of doing something else, which I thought was putting 2 more back in service.
Have to look at it again. I know at one point there was discussion about some fact finding or group looking at regional options up in legislation, but I haven't heard about that.
Because you guys did a lot of work in Rutland County. You were like this close to moving forward, from what I understood. Yeah. So if
Well,
you go,
it's
Mary,
Not,
that
yeah.
would be something that I would.
Do you want me to raise it and rattle the cage?
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's something that needs to be rattled. We had all these senators come to legislative, people come, and everybody talks about doing stuff, but then it's like, as soon as we stop making noise or somebody, so if you're gonna have a few towns there, and most of these towns are probably gonna be Rutland County, and they all have police and fire, and they're all suffering the same shortcomings. You know, I thought our people did a really good job to try to get to 29, 28, 29 plus, that's fire departments, plus police and EMS in Rutland County, pretty much all on board. And at the last thing was, how are we going to bill each town? And then the
And
state,
how much?
right, but that was what we started talking about 3-4 years ago.
Yep.
Do we need to set money aside? Is this going to happen? Then the state got involved and they hired a committee to investigate this. And after several months, the committee said, we're not qualified to do the investigation, so now we're not going to do it. And then, so it's like, I mean, I don't actively participate like I did, but I don't want to see this require people losing their lives or severe property loss before somebody in Montpelier decides this is a problem. And those of us in the fire service know that changes come after loss of life. And
So
we
what
don't,
is
we
it
haven't
that we're
learned.
advocating for? We don't want to be charged.
Well, I'm not worried about paying.
I am.
Well, I
for
know.
dispatch services, but are we asking that they reestablish?
What we need is competent dispatch service. If the state of Vermont is going to do this, if this is going to be their bailiwick and they are going to dispatch emergency services, they need to have enough answering services, answering PSAPs to handle the state of Vermont. And they need to do it in a manner that doesn't risk anybody's life and it doesn't overtax their employees to the point where they don't know if they're on foot or horseback. I mean, we need to, this is way too long. This is like 5 years
Yeah.
of I won't say it's incompetent. They do the best they can with what they have. But sometimes communications, when you're trying to talk to somebody in where Rockingham,
Westminster now.
Oh,
They're
Westminster.
even farther.
even further. So I know that microwave and towers and stuff, and it works. But sometimes you have no idea what you're doing or what you're doing. And I have made a couple of emergency calls in the last 3 years. The noise, background noise is beyond belief. You can hardly understand the dispatchers. And to be quite frank, if you don't have a really life-threatening authority, they don't actually want to talk to you too much. They're so stressed out that they're just done it. You know, you guys are relying more and more on your own to do stuff. So I think it's not something that can just, you know, it was a big hot, like Teddy said, it was a hot ticket item. And Rutland County, I thought, was kind of leading the charge here. We were going to get everybody together. We found equipment. I think equipment was purchased, looking for a location, somebody to run it. And we just needed how to do it. And the state said, no, you can't do that. But we aren't going to fix what we broke. And I don't know. But if that's something that you might get a lot of rattling out of.
Okay.
Let me rattle on.
Weird.
Okay.
Did I miss anything?
No, that's pretty good. I mean, it's like Ted said. I mean, we hear voices 1 or 2 a month. And
Yeah.
some of them are good, and some of them are just aren't cut out for it, and that's fine. Like,
Yeah, and you'll hear one voice at 7, 8 o'clock at night and 6 a.m. that same voice on the radio.
I'm a little tired.
It's like,
That's
holy
rough.
crap.
Yeah.
And then they get cranky at us sometimes. And I'm not a big fan of dispatcher getting cranky with me, but sometimes, you know, I could see it.
I haven't had sleeping.
I mean, I don't call 911. I pull the radio out of the backseat of my truck. Because trying to call 911, I mean, you're talking 10 minutes before somebody gets dispatched.
Huh. Okay. Thank you.
Anyway.
What else do we have? We have, so Kevin is on.
yes.
And let's see, we have done B, the lister to assessor. We've agreed that we're not going to pursue it. Any other new items that we haven't already raised? Oh, I've got this little handout and we can chat a little bit. more in executive session on that. That's a personnel matter. I will put it.
And I do have a personnel matter.
You have a personnel matter too. Okay. We've gone through the finance committee report. Were there any other committee meetings?
I saw, did you go over I guess your, plan?
Yeah, that's what it was the audit. So, the budget planning, did we vote on, God, I'm losing it tonight. The general budget with the changes. Have we done that? Because remember, we did not vote on the general budget because we had, 4 questions on 4 lines: town clerk, town treasurer, assistant clerk treasurer, and town administrator. And if you look at what Bill put on our desk, which unfortunately is also labeled from 12/10 meeting, it wasn't, these revisions came in after.
I changed the date.
It's in our packet, the town clerk, town treasurer, assistant town clerk, and town administrator numbers were revised downward because Sue went back through and found where she had calculated differently. And that, I think, is going to
That's
lead to
based on that
something.
vote from the June meeting.
Okay. I think that's the only change there, although one other change is in the very last, a question about the summary sheet at the very end. Remember, we had a question when it showed, we tallied up general budget, highway budget, police, fire, rec. We had total expenditures, which total expenditure increase was 2.68%, which is I think, very commendable. But then the net increase to be raised by taxes was a very high amount. And Matt and I both looked at this. And I think Matt figured out where it came from, but we question whether this is misleading to add this or whether we should take it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think part of the issue there is, that percentage is based on the amount to be raised by taxes, and which I had this here somewhere, but
I did send that to Andrew.
yeah, and
we haven't heard back from him on it yet.
right. So the reason so as you can see, the increase in the expense line is not very large,
Right.
but this
is the last page in that packet.
There's a decrease in the income. And so when you take the increase on the expense line and the decrease on the income line together, then that delta is a larger percentage of the smaller number that is to actually be raised by taxes. So that's part of it. The other part of it, I think, is that the numbers, the anticipated income lines don't appear to include that $150,000.
Well, we keep going back and forth about that on the police budget because we need to know how much to deduct from this year's budget, because last year we funded the budget at 100%. So my question was, we know the 150,000 is there, and that should come off of this year's budget.
Right.
There is a sum of money for the SRO position that the school is going to provide. That should come out of the budget to be raised by taxes from the general.
All of the other anticipated income items are subtracted in that calculation and coming up with the amount to be raised by taxes. But the 150 is not.
No, I don't believe we did.
So I
And
think
there is another question, Matt, that
well,
I
hang
have.
on one second.
Yep.
So just to compare apples to apples, I think what you would have to do is we actually raised 150 by taxes last year. So you'd have to increase that number, and then you'd have to subtract it from this next budget, and then the percent difference is going to be a lot smaller as a result once you include
right
include the difference in both.
Cause last year we raised 150,000 by taxes that we shouldn't have. So what we need to do is that 150,000 is either gotta come, so the 150,000 needs to be paid to the police budget. So it's either gotta come out of the Cortina funds and the extra 150, it's just, where you take it, but the police need the 754,000, I believe is what last year's budget was. Or 759, that's what they need to operate. The deductions, the amount to be raised by taxes last year, I believe, should have been 571, but we raised a whole 759. So there is actually, it's I think it's 188,000.
So if you wanna, I mean, for comparison, for sake of comparison, you'd have to actually adjust this to show what was actually raised by taxes for the current budget. And then you
Right.
have to
So we
track
gotta lower
150.
the current budget by that amount. But I don't know about the 38,000 for the SRO position for this current budget. That's the amount that was in the income, is 38,584.
Mhm.
So if the police budget receives that from the school and that went into their line, but we already paid for it by taxes, that means we should have $38,000 too much plus 150,000 too much. So in my brain, I'm thinking we need to deduct 188,554 from this year's budget on top of the other deductions that we're already talking, which is the 61,000. That would lower your amount to be raised by taxes for the whole town significantly, because you're talking a couple $100,000.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's the proper way to do it.
Well, that's, I mean,
It-
what we're struggling with is not that we don't need to do that, but
But
we,
it's the
that
amount.
sounds like an end of the year thing.
The 38,000.
So it doesn't carry over.
Right, so at the, so what, it's the amount that we gotta ask for by taxes in March that I don't know what it is, cause this,
So
the police amount right now, we're looking at 543,135, but I think it's gonna be less than that.
So the 38,000, I believe, is included in this anticipated income and the current year budget. I
Right.
get a number that for some reason is $2,000
Right,
different. but
so in the
it's-
current
but
budget, Matt, did you have an amount that was 759,619? That's the current, operating budget for 24-25, the budget we're in.
I'm sorry, what was that number again?
759,619. 759,619. That's the total police budget that they're operating under right now. Then we showed
Oh,
deductions.
yeah, that's what,
Right,
that's in the
And-
column, yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
that is the amount that was voted on.
Yes.
All five of us, including some police members, we missed that on the budget. We didn't see it on the ballot. We missed it completely.
Mhm.
Okay, and we had two shots at it. So the town raised $759,619 by taxes.
Mhm.
That's the number, you see on here, the 609,619.
Yep,
That's the amount of the expense that was in the budget. After
that's after the
subtracting 150.
50.
Right.
And then the next
38
line,
The 38 though is included in the anticipated income number that's down below, that's then subtracted out to come up with the amount to be raised by taxes.
the amount to been raised by taxes for this current budget should have been 571,35. That's what we should have
Correct.
asked for.
No, but the point is, these numbers are don't reflect the actual ballot items. The 38,000 is included in this anticipated income number that results in the total to be raised by taxes of 1.4 million. So I believe that amount was accounted for.
Well, I'm at the police budget. It shows, less hotel fund, 150. And then the subtotal was 609.
I guess this number, but it's accounted for in this number, but it's not, I guess, accounted for on the actual ballot.
Right, so the ballot item should have been for 571.
And I don't know.
and maybe this is something we need to ask Andrew, but so what will happen is the voters are going to raise $759,000. This board authorized 150 plus the 38,000 school money, which is 188, to be applied toward the current police budget. At the end of June, they are going to have a surplus of $188,000 because that's what we said was going to be income. 150 from the hotel fund, 38 from the school. So that 188 should go toward offsetting next year's budget that starts July 1st, along with the income that we're proposing for that new budget, which is 61,000. So if you add the 188 and 61, you get 240.
You want one more curveball?
Okay.
Is the school paying us for the months that we didn't have a school
So
resource
this
officer?
is the conversation we had last time.
Yeah.
There's more curveballs, because number one.
So there may be less
Number
money
two,
coming in.
Because we had
Number two, the
three months or almost
The
4
amount that
months.
they budgeted to spend was different than the amount that we budgeted for income.
Right.
So.
So
I
did they
just-
budget more or less?
I think they budgeted more. So.
So that number probably is going to be tweaked a little bit. If we lost 3 months out of, so they won't be paying us 38 because obviously the PD's not paying half of its police officer's salary. 'Cause we don't have them.
Okay, so the bottom line is what we can't fix this current budget until we get to the end of the fiscal year in June. And then we can do something, but what do we do about the current budget, which is what we have to have ready and hopefully approved tonight?
We need to deduct at least 150 from that budget on
From
top
the
of the,
police budget,
in it, yeah, I
which we
think,
are, which if the numbers are correct, did we already do that for the the budget that
Well-
we're proposing?
I think for the current budget, what you'd actually do, you have to increase the amounts to be raised by taxes by at least 150, because that's what we actually did. Maybe we could double check it with the ballot items. to
So-
add 'em up.
543, Mary, may be right.
So
Because I
the,
think we already talked about taking the 150 off.
um,
Because we're not authorizing
so we're
another one.
back looking at last year's 609, 619, and that is saying we add 150 to it. Because what we, is that correct?
I'm sorry, which number?
Okay, go to the back page. Six,
problem-
police budget, 609, 619.
Right,
Do
That's
we
a
add
sub-
150,000 to it?
Yes.
Okay,
and that gives you the 759.
okay.
And we anticipated, so the net total at the end for
Mhm.
last year, the 571, that is the 609 less the 38,000.
So
That's
tell
the,
me what we need to do tonight. Right now, do we need to revise the current police budget? And do we need to revise the final sheet, which is the summary? And can we vote on the general budget?
it appears that on this page here, the police budget for this year is proposed at 754, 155. There is 150,000 less hotel fund. Okay. I'm guessing we decided that was going to be the money we didn't use this year.
Right.
So that brings us to the 604, 155. And then the net total is 543, which is less than 6120. So I believe we did correct it.
So I think we're good.
The
So the
543.
police budget, we don't have to revise.
And we're not gonna worry about the 38,000. That was, I guess,
Because we don't know if we've received it or not from the
Right.
school.
We don't know how much we're getting.
Right.
so you'll be
Whether that's
talking, there
gonna
might
be-
be, that'll be a lot less. So we might be only 18 or
Okay.
19,000 over.
So police budget stays as we've approved it.
That appears that we have done both items.
Okay. So back to
Okay.
the summary sheet. What I think we're all saying is that amount to be raised by taxes is just wrong at this point because we've got the unspent 150,000. We've got some revenue maybe coming in for school resource officer. We won't know And therefore, we can't say until end of June and when we set the taxes in July, how much additional income we may have to reduce what we need to ask the voters for.
So, if you,
So I had, so I had,
Nobody's agreeing with me. Okay.
I had four numbers. 180, 211 for rec to be raised by taxes. And I don't know if that is reflected on that summary sheet. The summary sheet just shows the whole budgets.
yeah, that's the problem with the summary sheet. It doesn't break out the anticipated income for each.
So on the summary sheet, it still shows the police budget at 604,155.
Yep.
And the police budget is,
Cause that's, yeah, it does.
right, so the police budget, that's the subtotal,
Right,
but that doesn't show the SRO money out yet.
right, because that's taken out, all of the reductions are calculated together in the amount to be raised by taxes line.
Yeah, but, so,
Yeah,
Make two
let's
suggestions.
let Matt make a couple of
So
suggestions.
one is, my first suggestion is to Mary's question, which is, can we approve the general budget as changed? And I would move that we do so.
Motion's been made to approve the
Second.
general budget as revised for the
four positions.
four positions. Motion's been seconded by Sharon. Any discussion on the general budget? Okay, all in favor of approving this to present to the voters, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
So
Okay.
then the second point is, what we've really been talking about here is how to understand the change from one year to the next. And if you add on the current fiscal year, you add 150,000 to that amount to be raised by taxes, you come up with 1.582.
Okay,
If
what are you looking at? The summary
on the
sheet
summary
again?
sheet, the amount to be raised by taxes.
Yep.
So that was
But
setting aside the SRO for a moment, Joe,
Right,
just
right.
for sake of discussion. If you add the 150, that's what should be what we actually raised by taxes. That would be 1.582 million.
but if you look at the budget totals, all of the budgets, but the police are what the actual budget is. The police budget is less than 150,000 already. All the rest of those show the budgets without income being taken out.
Right,
Right.
because the assumption there was that the
No,
150,000
you gotta,
was
but
gonna be
we have to
expended,
put
but
the
it was
budget
not.
down as it's presented to us, which is 754. So your 3.602 million should be 3.752 because the whole budget has to be there. And then you have to
3.6.
subtract all of the income lines from the it should be 3.752. That's the total cost to operate the town for one fiscal year.
How
Then we take all of the
how are
income,
you getting 7.5?
because the 604,155, Matt, shows the 150 already taken out.
Oh, but 3.5 plus 150 is not 3.7. So is there something else?
604 for police, 604,155. Okay, that's not the police budget. The police budget.
Oh, you're talking about the next year. Okay.
Right. The budget we're currently debating whether or not we've done it right. The police budget for this year is 754,155. And so all of the other budgets, except for police, are listed exactly what the total budget is for the year. And then we have to subtract all of the income. So in
As the
general, we have,
1,893,000.
right, but that's the number we've got to make sure is right. Because we've actually, if in that 1,893,000 anticipated income, we already subtracted 150 off the budget and then we took it off again.
I know.
Right.
We're even worse than what
That's
we're,
not what I'm suggesting.
no, but we got to list these.
We could break it out. That we could put more detail on here, but I'm just trying to ascertain what the actual difference is. And I think what you would do based with the numbers that we have here, is you would add the 150 to last year. You leave this year's number alone because it's already been factored in. So if you take a 1.709 divide by the adjusted number, which would be 1.582, and you get an increase of about 8%, which is a lot different from.
It is, but
what's on right now.
we need to list the budgets accurately.
Okay.
So I don't know how
So
we get it.
this summary sheet is incorrect.
I
We
do
all
believe so.
agree on that.
Yes.
All right. So why don't we just not approve the summary sheet and each committee double check your numbers. Bill, I think you've heard the debate and
Have.
okay. So
Got it recorded.
okay.
Um,
So try again with a different summary sheet that has all of these
Okay.
contained.
The only
Yep.
The only thing I didn't, so when we were doing all the budgets that night and I wrote everything down to be raised by taxes, the only one that I didn't is the general because there's no funds to be raised by taxes for the general
Because
budget.
we use the 1%.
We use the 1% plus that. So in the calculation of anticipated income, we go through each budget. Rec has a little bit they've got coming in. Highway's got a little bit coming in. Police has got some coming in. Fire, I believe, does not. And general does. And those numbers should equal to the number that's on the, that should be.
Right.
But, so the numbers that I came up with to be raised by taxes, and I can do this, I'll try to do this really quick. Yes, 180.
While he's doing that, Bill, it would just be helpful, I think, if it were broken out by category of budget minus that piece of income. Here's the amount to be raised by taxes for each.
So do you want to basically duplicate the end of each budget sheet?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think you'd have it like expense column, income column, amount to be raised by taxes column with a total at the bottom. And then with the 150, I mean, for purposes of this, you could probably just include it in the income or you can make an additional adjustment, but.
So what I came up with, an amount to be raised by taxes is 1,979,223. And that's for rec, fire, highway, and police. Based on the final numbers that we figured out that night that we voted on. The rec is 182.11, fire is 262,538, highway was 993,339, and police is 543,135. Because when I went back and rechecked my numbers now, we had deducted that 150 already, plus the SRO. So that comes to 1.979223. And that's the actual, then we have to figure out what the actual income is for each budget.
Well, okay, the amount to be raised by taxes, though, should be net of the income.
That's right.
Huh?
It's net because we only raise taxes on what we haven't found money for in
Right, and
grants
that's,
and income.
so what I wrote down right here
Yeah.
is to be raised by taxes. So this is each budget less their income. So the recreation budget,
Okay, either we schedule another meeting to go over this.
we may have to,
We may have to.
but just for
But we've
example,
got
now-
our attorney who's waiting to
Right.
talk to
Yeah, I
us
think
about a
that's-
couple of other things. And we have gone over these once. I think the summary sheet is more of the problem.
it very well may be.
Yeah,
The numbers don't jive for me.
and yeah, and nor for any of us really. And Bill has to do, well, I don't know, maybe he's already, but he has to double check numbers. We all have to double check numbers here. And I'm back to amount to be raised by taxes. This particular year is not going to be something that's easy to determine because we've got the 150 floating around. We've got the school resource officer, which we may or may not receive reimbursement for, and we don't know how much. So I guess I'm coming down to the thing that was the red flag was your taxes are going up by 19%. That is not correct. So something is wrong there, and that's why we did a deep dive on this thing. All right,
The other
we
thing-
can suspend discussion. I don't want to say close it, because we have to hash this out. We have to be satisfied we're presenting a decent budget. But let's suspend this and let's talk to our town attorney and catch him up to date on some of the things we did today. So, let's see, personnel issues and advice of counsel. Those would be two reasons we would be going into executive session if anyone wants to
So
make a
move.
motion.
So move.
Motion's made and seconded. Who's to remain in on it? Anybody?
If we need,
Just want to hear from our attorney.
I think it's just,
Okay,
I don't know
I'll
if
need
it-
part of it.
you have a personnel matter.
Yeah.
we want to
Do
do
you
it.
have a personnel matter too?
It's a discussion that I
Okay,
think we should have.
and there's also my little personnel discussion.
Right.
We do Bill first.
Let's do Bill first.
No, Kevin. it's okay.
Yeah, let's do Kevin. He's been waiting. Okay, all in favor of executive session for advice from counsel and perhaps related personnel issues, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay.
Motions,
Okay, now
Probably
you
gone
are.
to bed.
I don't remember.
I don't
You are,
believe
you are
so.
back on the record now.
We gave, okay, so we're back on the record at,
Way past my bedtime.
10:05. Having heard from town council on several disparate issues and having received direction, which we will pass along to the appropriate people. There, how's that? Because I don't think there was anything we needed to vote on. Now, when we shifted to town council, we were in the process of going through the budget summary sheet at the end. And that led to a discussion back to the police budget. We did approve the general budget, but I'm unclear whether we need to revisit any of these budgets again.
The only issue that is outstanding within those budgets was my request to Ted for the detail on the SRO calculation. We had previously approved the police budget for presentation to the town, but obviously we still have another meeting, your pre-town meeting or before, whenever, I don't know. We got another,
Police committee
No.
meeting? No, we need.
No, this is the last meeting
select
before
board.
pre-town meeting.
okay, well,
Unless we
we
meet
take a
again next
formal
week.
vote usually, don't we? At that, well,
Yes.
this was another discussion we had. I don't know if we ever finalized about warning that, how we warn that, because we usually have to take a final vote.
Yeah, so usually with those, so the warning's usually for a select board meeting prior to, there's a recess and then the
Right.
board meeting resumes.
Right, so that's still the plan,
Robin's back.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
So that night, if there was something that we had to change.
Yes.
Change it then.
We could.
But otherwise, I think, I mean, we asked Bill to try another shot at the summary sheet.
Yep.
I don't.
Do we need that?
That's a question.
I think we
We
need it for
actually-
ourselves, so we understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But,
I
but
don't know
the-
if it goes important.
I don't know if we really need that.
So back to Matt's suggestion earlier, which was just do the summary for each department.
And like I say, they're, you know, and I don't want to keep you,
We have.
so we have addressed the issues that I kept bringing up in the police budget. And the 543,135 is an accurate number. And we are not going to address the 38,000 that was figured into to this year's operating budget, because a portion of that is probably not going to be paid. So there isn't going to be a large amount. And this budget, the police budget reflects a total budget offsetting the 150,000 that we have extra because we didn't do it last year. And it also shows the $61,020 deduction for the SRO position. And it leaves us with an amount to be raised by taxes of 543,135. That is accurate. Where I did question is that in the summary sheet, the police budget is the only one that does not show the entire budget. It shows the subtotal, which is inaccurate. It should show the entire budget of 754,155, like all of the general, highway, rec, and fire show. So that number there, which skews this even more the other way as to what the total budgets are. And then I did not go through each individual budget, which I hope to do at home, and add up what the anticipated income is for each budget and see how that compares to the anticipated income of 1.8 million. I believe we authorized 1.3 for the 1%. And then the other numbers, and we are satisfied with everybody's budget, what their income is. The only department that has no income is fire. And so once you figure out what the totals are, so I believe the 3.6 million is off by 100 or by 61,000 or whatever it's off there. So those numbers are not accurate. And then we just total up the amount of income, and that should be each department will have a deduction for income, and that amount of anticipated income will be whatever it is on this line, and then the amount to be raised by taxes will be the difference between total town budgets and the anticipated income.
So you're saying don't take the summary sheet out completely, have Bill rework it.
Well, that would be the best thing, just to make sure that these
But
numbers.
maybe drop the overall percentage?
I think people want to know what the total budget for each department is.
Yeah.
They may want to know what the total budget is for the town, which is right around the 3.6 million.
Yeah.
What we anticipate for income, which is about half of it.
Yeah.
And then what we anticipate being raised by taxes. The problem is, if the preceding budget is not accurate, then that percentage is skewed.
Right.
So then you got to go back and do that budget, and you got to, so that snowballs. So I would just give the voters, these are the individual budgets, or maybe what we should show, do that, and then the anticipated incomes and the amount to be raised by taxes, and leave it
Then
alone.
drop the,
Just get away from the percentages, because unless the previous ones are accurate, and I'm almost dead certain they're not, because some numbers might have got missed or something we did wrong. So Bill is trying to compare a budget that's, and you look at it. Last year we said we were going to ask 1.4 million by taxes, and this year we're asking 1.7, which is a $300,000 income. And if you just divide 300,000 into if you put that into 300,000 into 1.5 million, it's roughly 20%. And that's what your increase is, which is pretty darn close to what came out. And I don't think that's accurate. So if we get away from percentages, folks would be okay. Just, this is what
okay, here's a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Maybe you've answered it, but the line above it, net overall budget increase from 24-25 to 25-26. Is that accurate? That's 2.68%.
I have no idea.
Is it?
Well, when you do the math on those numbers, I checked it out.
Right, but if you put the police budget in at the amount it should be, which is 754,000, that total 3.6 million is going to be up by
Your wash because of-
150. It's off by $150,000.
Yeah, because of,
Because we subtracted the 150 and we shouldn't.
Yeah.
In this calculation.
Okay.
So that number should be 3.752.
right.
And so that's gonna be the total. Then the income line, I don't know without going through each individual one, but I'll bet you it's pretty darn close. And then we'll end up with the amount to be raised by taxes.
And frankly, by the time we get to calculating what the taxes are, we have other things that have happened over the 8 months.
Right. So this will just give
Until
folks a rough
June
idea that
30.
if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, the town of Rutland has a $3.7 million operating budget for the municipal side. We raise almost half of that in income. And we are taxing our taxpayers about half of what it costs to run the municipal side. That's to try to do these numbers, I think it confuses me at times.
Okay.
You know, and when you start comparing year-end budgets to your budgets to your budgets, if one is messed up a little bit, then the next one,
Next one will be,
it keeps
because there
snowballing.
needs to be an adjustment.
Yeah.
Which leads to actually one of the last things I wanted to raise. Who's going to report which budgets on January 16th?
14.
14th.
16th, we will be somewhere having some nervous breakdown.
14th.
Yeah.
Who's
Right.
going to report what? In the past, it has fallen like
Probably be the
this.
same as last year.
Sharon does rec.
Yep.
Kurt does highway.
Mm.
Matt does police. Is that what I did last?
Yeah.
Mary does fire. Did I do fire last year?
I'll do the
And
fire and
you
then
I
we can do the general
split
together,
General.
or I can do the
I
fire.
get the good news part of general.
You can do the income part and I'll do the expense part,
I think we split it actually halfway through.
whatever. Yeah.
But is that okay with folks?
Yep.
All right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we'll go with.
And one of the things that I think I want to try to do so that we get it ingrained into our heads is that when we do each budget, we clarify that the amount to be raised by taxes. So the highways budget is 1.1 or whatever it is, less whatever, the amount to be raised by taxes is $993,339. That way, it'll help us trigger, okay, did we do this right? Because if we had done that last year,
Okay.
when we did police and said, this is the amount to be raised by taxes, and you look at that ballot item and it says $759,000, something bell should have gone off somewhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the summary sheet becomes the total budget page, so that's where it all brings all together. So
The summary sheet we do need, but the
We can-
question is the percentage.
Yeah. Are we comfortable enough to go into that meeting on the 14th with the information we have?
I think as Matt or you said, the only little piece missing is whether the school is going to pay or will pay that.
And that's such a little
Really
amount, I wouldn't worry about deducting
Yeah.
it from next year's budget.
Yeah.
The 150 is going to be, and the 61, I'm hoping the 61 is accurate for the police department's work they've done with the school and the SRO guy and what we're getting, so that we don't end up, because the last thing we want to be is short on the 30th of June 26th, and we're like,
We're okay. No, I think we're okay with that.
If we're short on the police budget, the 1% money takes up the rest.
supposed to.
Yeah, really it will.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. I think we've got everything done that I could think of.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say
Aye.
aye. Aye.